The early morning fog clung to the cemetery like a soft, gray blanket, muffling the distant sounds of the city. Veronica Stone, a billionaire known for her sharp business mind and icy demeanor, parked her sleek black car near a row of marble headstones. Today marked the 10th anniversary of her son Daniel's death, and the weight of grief pressed down on her chest as she stepped onto the dew-soaked grass. Her heels sank slightly, and she adjusted her designer coat, though luxury couldn't shield her from the ache inside. As she approached Daniel's grave, Veronica's eyes, normally calculating and cold, softened. Flowers, carefully arranged in the shape of a heart, lay atop the polished stone, a tribute she had personally chosen. She knelt, her fingers brushing the engraved letters, whispering his name as tears formed. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying memories of laughter, birthday parties, and quiet nights at home that now felt impossibly far away. But then something unexpected caught her attention. A small figure near the next row of graves stirred the quiet. A black woman, her uniform unmistakably that of a waitress from a local diner, knelt beside a small child. The woman's shoulders shook with sobs. Her voice choked, but she didn't seem to notice anyone else around. The child, clutching a stuffed rabbit, buried his face in her chest, also crying. Veronica's brow furrowed. She had come prepared to face her own grief, but this raw, unfamiliar sorrow drew her in. Veronica hesitated, unsure if she should interrupt. The child looked no older than 5, and the woman's tears mirrored the depth of loss Veronica had felt herself. There was a moment, a pause in time, where the two women, strangers in every sense, seemed connected by the fragile human experience of love and loss. Veronica had seen sadness in boardrooms, headlines, and charity galas, but never like this. This grief was intimate, vulnerable, and completely unguarded. She stepped closer, her expensive shoes barely making a sound on the damp grass. "Excuse me, are you okay?" Veronica asked softly, her voice betraying concern she didn't expect to feel. The waitress looked up, her eyes red-rimmed, and for a moment, Veronica saw something she couldn't place. Recognition, or maybe a silent plea. The morning air seemed heavier, charged with a story about to unfold that neither of them could ignore. The waitress blinked rapidly, as if trying to gather herself, but her sobs only deepened. I'm fine," she stammered, her voice shaky. Her eyes darted to the child, who now clung even tighter to her. Veronica crouched slightly to meet the child's gaze, noticing the striking resemblance he bore to the boy in the woman's arms. Innocent, small, and frightened, yet somehow familiar. The child's tears streaked down his cheeks, and he whispered, almost inaudibly, "Mom, I miss him." Veronica's heart tightened. She realized immediately that this wasn't just random grief. It was a profound, personal pain. Yet something in the woman's posture, the tenderness with which she held the child, sparked a deep curiosity. "You don't have to talk if you're not ready," Veronica said softly, her usual authoritative tone replaced by genuine concern. The waitress swallowed hard, nodding, her hands trembling slightly. She looked around nervously, as though expecting judgment from someone wealthy, someone like Veronica. But instead, she found only quiet understanding. The child peeked out from behind her, his wide eyes meeting Veronica's. For a heartbeat, the world seemed to pause, and Veronica felt an inexplicable connection to the little boy. The same way grief could isolate, it could also create bridges between strangers. She wondered silently how the small family had ended up here, sharing the sacred space with her own mourning. There was a story here, a reason for their presence, something that would shatter her expectations, or perhaps transform them. Finally, the woman exhaled a long, shaky breath. "My son," she began, voice cracking, "he passed away last night." Veronica froze, feeling a chill run down her spine. The child's small fingers gripped the rabbit tighter, his face buried in his mother's shoulder. The gravity of loss was immediate, raw, and undeniable. Veronica realized that in her pursuit of commemorating her own son, she had stumbled into someone else's unimaginable pain. She swallowed, unsure how to respond. Business deals, boardroom arguments, even her own grief, none of it had prepared her for this moment. The woman's eyes met hers again, filled with both fear and hope, as if silently asking, "Can you understand?" Veronica's mind raced. She had come seeking closure, perhaps even control over her memories. Instead, she found a mirror of sorrow and the undeniable pull of compassion she hadn't felt in years. The fog seemed thicker now, curling around him like a protective veil. Veronica reached into her pocket and retrieved a small handkerchief, offering it to the woman. "Here for him," she said gently. The waitress hesitated, then accepted it with a nod, tears still flowing but somehow less alone. In that small gesture, an unspoken bond began to form, a bond that neither money nor status could define, one built entirely on shared heartbreak and quiet understanding. The little boy clutched the handkerchief awkwardly, fumbling with the corners as if it might somehow absorb his tears. Veronica watched silently, struck by the simple, fragile humanity of the scene. All her years of wealth, power, and influence suddenly felt irrelevant here. This wasn't about business or reputation. It was about loss, love, and the unspoken bonds that grief could create. "Would you like to sit for a moment?" Veronica asked cautiously, gesturing toward a nearby bench shaded by an old oak tree. The woman hesitated, scanning Veronica's face for any hint of judgment, but found none. Slowly, she nodded, and together they moved toward the bench, the boy toddling between them. As they sat, the fog seemed to lift slightly, sunlight breaking through in delicate shafts that touched the ground like golden ribbons. "I'm Veronica," she said gently, extending a hand, though she wasn't expecting a handshake in this moment. The woman paused, then clasped it lightly. "Maya," she replied, her voice quiet but steadying. The boy peeked out from behind her, eyes still glistening, and whispered, "I'm Marcus." Veronica's chest tightened at the sound of the child's name, so ordinary yet weighted with sorrow. They sat together in silence for a moment, the kind of silence that isn't empty but full of understanding. Veronica thought of her son Daniel, his laughter, his bright curiosity, the way he used to chase butterflies in their backyard. And now here was Marcus, a little boy experiencing the same heartbreak, mirrored in a stranger's arms. It was almost surreal, the way grief could stretch across lives, connecting strangers in a single moment of shared humanity. Finally, Maya spoke, her words halting but deliberate. We used to come here often. Daniel, he loved this park behind the cemetery. He always wanted to see the sunrise over the hills. That's why we were here this morning." Veronica's eyes widened slightly, her mind racing. Daniel, could it be? No, that wasn't possible. Yet the coincidences piled on. Same name, same love for the sunrise, same quiet way of noticing small, beautiful things. Veronica's heart thudded painfully in her chest, but she forced herself to stay composed. I understand more than I can say," she murmured, voice low, almost trembling. Maya nodded, tears still rolling down her cheeks, but now tinged with a strange sense of relief. The boy, sensing the adult conversation, nestled closer into his mother, and Veronica felt a protective urge she hadn't felt in years. Something about Marcus stirred memories and instincts she thought she had buried with Daniel. The air between them was charged, heavy with loss yet strangely hopeful. Veronica realized that this chance encounter was more than coincidence. It was a turning point, a moment that could change everything she thought she knew about grief, forgiveness, and the unexpected ways lives intersect. Veronica took a slow breath, trying to steady the whirlwind of emotions inside her. She studied Maya, noticing the strength beneath her tears, the resilience that came from carrying her child through unimaginable pain. Veronica had faced countless crises in boardrooms, negotiating billion-dollar deals. Yet this kind of courage, raw and unpolished, humbled her. It wasn't measured in money or power. It was measured in love and endurance. "Marcus, he's very brave," Veronica said softly, her voice catching slightly. The boy looked up, a tentative smile breaking through his tears, and reached for her hand. She hesitated, then allowed him to touch it gently, feeling the tiny weight of his fingers and the tremor of his small body. There was something unexplainable about this connection, a thread of empathy weaving through their lives, fragile but undeniable. Maya wiped her eyes and glanced at Veronica. "I didn't expect anyone, not anyone like you, to stop," she admitted, her voice almost a whisper. Veronica tilted her head slightly, meeting her gaze. Why wouldn't I? She asked. Loss doesn't care about status or wealth or who you are. It's the one thing that touches everyone equally. And right now, Marcus and you need someone to notice, someone to care. The words seemed to resonate, and Maya nodded slowly. Veronica's mind raced, recalling her own mornings at Daniel's grave. The hollow ache, the lonely rituals, the unanswered questions. Seeing another mother and child in pain ignited something inside her, a determination to do more than simply honor her son's memory. Maybe, just maybe, she could help someone else navigate the same heartache. For a moment, the three of them sat quietly, letting the morning unfold around them. Birds chirped softly in the distance, their songs faint but comforting. The cemetery, once somber and cold, now felt alive with possibility, a place where loss could coexist with connection. Veronica's thoughts wandered, considering what steps she could take, how she could extend a hand without overstepping. Then, unexpectedly, Marcus spoke. Can we visit my daddy's spot together? His small voice trembled, but there was a spark of hope. Veronica's chest tightened. She realized that this simple request, a child seeking comfort, guidance, and solidarity, was more powerful than any business meeting, more urgent than any boardroom decision. She nodded slowly, willing herself to be present in a way she hadn't been for years. Maya's eyes softened, a hint of gratitude flickering across her tear-stained face. Veronica stood, gently guiding Marcus's tiny hand into hers, while Maya followed close behind. As they approached another grave, Veronica felt a shift deep within her, something she hadn't anticipated. This moment, fragile and tender, was quietly reshaping the way she saw grief, love, and the unexpected miracles that life sometimes offered. As they reached the next row of headstones, Veronica felt her breath catch. Marcus ran ahead a few steps, his small fingers brushing the cold stone of the grave. Veronica recognized the name engraved there, and her heart skipped. Daniel, same as her son. The coincidences, the connections, the eerie sense of fate. It was almost too much to comprehend. Maya's gaze followed Veronica's, sensing her sudden stillness, her quiet shock. He loved the mornings, Maya whispered, her voice barely audible. Said the sunlight made everything feel possible, even when it wasn't. Veronica's throat tightened. The words mirrored memories she had carried for a decade. Daniel's laughter, his soft voice asking to watch the sunrise, the way it clung to simple joys even in a world too complicated for a child. Her emotions teetered between disbelief and awe. Marcus knelt at the grave, clutching his stuffed rabbit tightly, whispering his own words to the stone. Veronica found herself kneeling beside him instinctively, feeling an invisible bridge connecting the two children. She could almost hear Daniel's voice mingling with Marcus's, a chorus of innocence and longing that transcended the boundaries of life and death. For a moment, time seemed to suspend, allowing grief and hope to exist side by side. Maya reached out, placing a hand gently on Veronica's shoulder. I didn't know how to handle it, she admitted, tears streaming down her face. I felt so lost. And then you came. Veronica shook her head softly, her own tears falling now. No, she said, voice firm yet tender. You didn't need me to fix it. You just needed someone to notice. And I'm glad I did. The morning sun broke fully through the fog, illuminating the graves with a soft, golden light. It was as if the universe itself had granted them a moment of clarity, of understanding. Marcus looked up at Veronica, eyes wide, and offered a small, tentative smile. She returned it, feeling a warmth she hadn't known in years. For the first time since Daniel's death, her grief didn't feel like a prison. It felt like a connection, a pathway to healing not just for herself, but for another family. Veronica realized that life's cruel twists sometimes carried hidden blessings. A billionaire and a waitress, a child and a mother, all brought together by the invisible threads of fate and grief. And in that quiet cemetery, among the polished stones and morning sunlight, a fragile hope began to grow, a hope that even the deepest pain could lead to unexpected compassion, and perhaps to a sense of shared healing that neither of them had imagined possible. Veronica stood slowly, brushing the damp grass from her coat. She looked at Maya and Marcus, realizing how much they had already begun to rely on her presence. It wasn't just compassion. There was a sense of responsibility that tugged at her heart. In all her years of wealth, she had given generously to charities, funded schools, and sponsored hospitals, but nothing had ever felt as immediate, as urgent as this moment. Maya's gaze met hers, searching, hesitant. I don't know what we'll do now, she admitted. Veronica offered a reassuring smile. We'll take it one step at a time, she said. Her voice carried a steadiness she didn't know she still possessed. Right now, it's enough to be together, to share this grief. Tomorrow, we can figure out the rest. Maya nodded, relief washing over her features. Marcus clutched her hand, looking up at Veronica with wide, trusting eyes. They lingered a while longer at the graves, letting the morning air surround them. Veronica found herself speaking softly to Daniel's grave, words of love and longing spilling out as though the presence of another grieving mother and child amplified her own emotions. Maya and Marcus stayed close, a quiet solidarity forming among them. For the first time in years, Veronica didn't feel the crushing weight of isolation. She wasn't alone anymore, and somehow neither were they. Finally, Veronica straightened, her gaze drifting over the rows of graves. Each stone told a story. Each name carried memories, losses, and love. But here, in this small corner of the world, she realized that grief could also create bridges, connections that transcended wealth, status, or circumstance. It was human, raw, and profoundly beautiful. I have an idea, Veronica said suddenly. Turning to Maya, there's a place not far from here, a small community center. They help families, children, anyone who's going through hard times. I think Marcus would love it there, and it might help both of you feel a little less alone. Maya's eyes widened slightly, a mixture of hope and disbelief. You'd really do that? Veronica nodded. Yes. It's not about what I can give right now. It's about making sure he's supported and that you're not carrying this burden alone. Marcus's face lit up with a tentative smile, and for a brief moment, the sorrow of the morning felt lighter. Veronica felt a strange, quiet satisfaction. Not the kind that comes from signing deals or earning accolades, but the kind that comes from knowing she had taken a step toward real human connection. In that instant, grief and hope coexisted, fragile but undeniable, and the first thread of a new beginning began to form between them. The drive from the cemetery to the community center was quiet, yet the silence felt comforting rather than awkward. Marcus sat between Veronica and Maya, occasionally glancing up at Veronica with curious eyes. She offered a soft smile, feeling a protective warmth settle around them. Maya, still wiping the last traces of tears from her cheeks, seemed calmer, as though the weight of the morning had been shared and lightened just a little. When they arrived at the small, welcoming center, Veronica parked the car and stepped out first, opening the door for Marcus. The center's facade was unassuming, painted in cheerful colors with small playground visible behind it. Veronica felt a flicker of hope. This place, with its simple resources and caring staff, was worlds away from her corporate world, yet it felt infinitely more meaningful in this moment. Inside, volunteers greeted them warmly. Marcus's eyes widened as he spotted toys, books, and other children laughing in a safe, vibrant space. Maya let out a soft sigh of relief, watching her son's small face light up. Veronica realized that joy, even in tiny doses, was a powerful antidote to grief. For Marcus, this could be a sanctuary, a place to feel normal again. And for Veronica, it was a chance to channel her own sorrow into something constructive, something lasting. As Marcus ran toward a group of children, Veronica and Maya walked slowly, speaking quietly. "Thank you," Maya said, her voice still soft but steadier now. "I didn't expect anyone like you to actually care." Veronica shook her head. "It's not about who I am," she replied. "It's about what any of us can do when we notice someone in need. And right now, you and Marcus need help, and you deserve it." Maya's eyes glistened with gratitude, and Veronica felt the unfamiliar yet comforting warmth of connection. For the first time since Daniel's death, she understood that grief didn't have to isolate. It could create bonds, build compassion, and even foster hope in unexpected places. Marcus laughed, chasing another child around the play area, his joy bubbling freely. Veronica watched, tears threatening again but tempered by relief. This wasn't the end of pain or loss, but it was a beginning of healing. She realized that love, grief, and kindness were intricately linked, and that sometimes life's harshest blows led to the most profound human connections. In that small community center, amidst laughter and play, Veronica felt the first stirrings of something she hadn't felt in years. Purpose, empathy, and quiet, unshakable belief that even heartbreak could lead to moments of unexpected grace. As the afternoon sun streamed through the windows of the community center, Veronica felt a calm settle over her, a sense of closure, yet also a beginning. She watched Marcus interact with the other children, his laughter filling the room and echoing in a way that reminded her of Daniel. The boy's small hands grasped toys, ran to friends, and returned to his mother for comfort, slowly reclaiming the innocence that grief had tried to steal. Maya stood nearby, her posture straighter now, confidence slowly returning as she observed her son thriving in a safe space. Veronica approached her, offering a gentle smile. "He's going to be okay," she said softly, her words carrying the authority of experience, but also the sincerity of someone who had felt loss and learned to navigate it. Maya nodded, tears brimming again, but these were tears of relief, of gratitude, not just sorrow. Veronica's mind wandered to her own son, Daniel. She had come to the cemetery to mourn, to remember, and to feel the emptiness he had left behind. Instead, she had discovered a shared humanity, a bond formed not by coincidence alone, but by empathy and compassion. She realized that her grief could no longer be confined to memory. It could extend outward, touching lives, creating hope, and offering comfort where it was most needed. Later, as they prepared to leave, Veronica handed Maya a small envelope. "This isn't a solution for everything," she said, "but it will help you get started. Support, resources, anything you need to rebuild. You deserve a chance to heal." Maya took it with trembling hands, overwhelmed by the gesture. I don't know how to thank you," she whispered. Veronica shook her head. "Just promise me you'll keep caring for Marcus and yourself. That's enough." On the drive back, Veronica felt a lightness she hadn't experienced in years. The city passed by in blurred motion, but she noticed every detail. The sunlight, the hum of traffic, the simple rhythm of life continuing. Grief would always be a part of her, but now it was tempered with understanding, connection, and hope. At home that evening, Veronica placed fresh flowers on Daniel's grave. She whispered his name, not in sorrow alone, but in recognition of the lessons she had learned, the lives she had touched, and the new beginnings that could emerge even from heartbreak. In that quiet moment, she understood fully, love doesn't end with loss. It transforms, it grows, and sometimes it returns to us in the most unexpected, miraculous ways. The morning had brought grief, but the day ended with healing, hope, and a bond that neither time nor circumstance could break.